Hey all, I want to spend a few minutes today talking about acquisition transition planning, starting off with why it's really crucial to plan out the first 100, 200 inputs for whatever acquisition that you're looking to make. And the first reason why you would want to do that is to really script the transition process. So having a plan in place is obviously going to make sure that everybody across every single functional area of your due diligence and transition team is on the exact same page for what's going to happen as soon as the deal closes. Secondly, having a plan of attack helps inform your investment thesis for buying the business and your traffic and financial forecast. So when you think about it, that inputs game plan is pretty much everything that you just uncovered in due diligence, all the opportunities that exist within the business, and everything that you want to execute on to improve the business over time. And your investment thesis is the why behind acquiring that business. So the more informed inputs game plan that you have, the more refined of an investment thesis you're going to have, and you're going to create a lot of confidence within your leadership team as well as the rest of your due diligence and transition team around what needs to happen in order for that investment thesis and those goals and KPIs that are attached to the business in order for that stuff to come true. You can also partner with your financial team on all of their financial and traffic forecasts on where the business is going to go in that first 6, 12, 24, 36 months post-close. And the more refined inputs game plan that you have for growing the business, the easier it's going to be to forecast all of that different growth. Because if there are certain growth opportunities, let's say on the monetization side or something to increase traffic, maybe a big technical project that you can't execute on or complete until month 4 or 6, you can't bake in growth for executing on those inputs right off the bat post-close. So that inputs game plan is going to be great for just, like I said, getting you on the same page with all of your other functional teammates around when things are going to hit and how that informs the forecast for the business. And the third major reason why inputs game planning is really important is it helps create transparency and trust with any new teammates that you bring over from the acquisition. I've been a part of several acquisitions over the years where we've brought teammates over from the site or business that we've acquired, and I can't tell you enough how crucial this planning is to really create buy-in from the folks that are coming into your team. It's obviously a very nervous and nerve-wracking situation for any acquired teammates. They're coming into a new organization with people that they do not know, that they've never built trust with. They're probably potentially seeing some of their friends and teammates getting laid off or not have jobs because there's overlapping roles and responsibilities between the buyer and the business that is being acquired. And there's just a lot of uncertainty in the air. So being able to put that plan in front of them on, hey, here is what we're going to be executing on in the first 30, 60, 90 days and 12 and 24 months on the business. And here are your roles and responsibilities for success to achieve those goals is going to give them a really great roadmap on what they need to execute on and what their kind of professional development game plan is. In terms of documentation, it is totally up to you and your organization on how you best want to visualize this timeline of inputs. But for me, generally, I think a good old Gantt chart or sometimes a really basic spreadsheet, as long as it has some sort of timeline for each task, can really do a fine job of planning out this entire process and what those inputs look like over the first 12 to 24 months. But you really should have a few key pieces of information for each task. Obviously, you want to make sure that the timeline for that task is included in however you chart or plot this information. The owner of the task or project, any single dependencies that that task has, whether it's things that need to get completed earlier or certain teammates that need to be involved in order for that thing to come true. And sometimes there could be some external forces that need to happen in order for that task or project to be completed. So you want to make sure that you note that stuff, as well as any links to other diligence documents or execution documents that you need in order to complete the project. Speaking of diligence documents, you should have pretty much all of those audits and game plan already done for the most part, because you've dug into all of those different areas in due diligence and identified all of those areas of opportunity. So you've already done kind of the what and the why for each of those inputs and how it's going to help the business. And now you really need to focus on, okay, how do we execute on those things and when do we execute on those things? And really just putting all of those things that you've uncovered and planned into motion. So this inputs plan can contain pretty much anything that you need to do to improve the business. It can be very administrative transition items, can also be very technical stuff like technical SEO improvements, content work that you need to do, things to improve the link profile, UX improvements, monetization, any sort of partner or affiliate relationships that you need to work on, get introductions made and move those forward, as well as any sort of teammate transition planning, and like I mentioned earlier, some administrative things. So really anything that you need to work on in the business should be part of this input game plan, because like I mentioned earlier, there can be a lot of dependencies and just a certain streamline of tasks that you need to complete in order to get to the next thing. Now you'll be including a timeline with each of these different tasks, but you should also just be breaking stuff up into phases as you communicate this game plan to the rest of your team. Personally, I like to break up the inputs game plan into a few different chunks. First is the first 30 days post-close. Obviously, I have some checklists on inputs that I need to execute on pre-close and day of close, which I'll share some future videos on and give y'all my exact SOPs and frameworks for how I execute on those specific inputs. But that first 30-day period is super crucial for really laying the groundwork for how the business is going to operate, that initial transition, especially for bringing on new teammates, and really getting those first opportunities and inputs executed on in order to get a lot of leverage and growth into the business. I'll also break up into that 30 to 60 day or month 2 period, 60 to 90 days, 3 to 6 months, and then 6 to 12 months. And then if you are doing any inputs planning for 12 plus months, you can include a snapshot there as well. But these different chunks, I think, really help paint the picture for your leadership team on what are the short-term opportunities, the medium-term opportunities, and the long-term opportunities that are associated with the business, so that that aligns to some of the broader strategic KPIs that they have for the business. So transition planning is obviously a really important part of the acquisition process. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll have a lot more videos on more specifics for every single component of the transition process. But until then, y'all let me know if you have any questions down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.